Good afternoon. Today on Business Success in 6 with Stacie, I have Matt Goosey here from MRS Machining. Matt, thanks so much for jumping on with us today.
Well, thank you, Stacie, and thank you for the wonderful job you've been doing with these interviews. I'm pretty impressed with them.
Thank you very much. It's very, very easy to do when we have great people like you that are willing to participate. So thank you. So today what I'm going to do is ask you 6 questions about your business in approximately 6 minutes. And you already told me that you are passionate and like to talk, and I like to talk too. So we'll try and rein ourselves in together. But thank you so much again for taking the time to do this. So you ready?
Oh, I'm always ready.
All right, ready to rock and roll. When people ask what your business does, how do you describe it?
Well, we're a contract manufacturer for precision machine components, and we basically machine parts. We actually defab parts. We don't refab parts. We don't add metal. We take away metal. So we, for about every industry you can possibly think of, very diverse. Serve many industries. Some that you would be surprised, and some that you might go, okay, that's kind of you see every day. So that's really what we do.
Surprise me.
It's like parts that are flying over your head right now, and like satellites and rockets. Oh,
Wow, yeah, it's very surprising. That's really, really neat. I bet you're learning different stuff every day then, huh?
oh yeah, always learning new things. That's my goal every day, to learn something new every day. Because if you're not, like I say, if you're not growing, if you're not learning and willing to get better, you're really kind of dying. So
Yeah, actually, my mom says something like that too. When you're green, you're growing. When you're ripe, you're nearly rotten. So
yeah.
that's wonderful that you keep growing. I love it. So what were your plans when you started your business, and how has that changed?
Well, we kind of didn't have a plan. We kind of got into it it's not by mistake, but just kind of got forced into it, and just boom, here we are. So the place actually the same building we're in today was a machine shop, and the owner got killed in a car accident. And my dad was friends with some of the customers, and they had some very expensive material, and the people that owned the building wanted it out now. But so we actually got in by mistake. So then they just asked my dad one day, hey, can you like finish machining these? And my dad's always had this old piece of equipment on his bench top, and he said, I'll give it a try. And my dad actually ended up doing it. To this day, I still remember I don't know how he did it, but he did it, made it, and did a good job. And we finally just started getting more work from that customer. And we really just did that kind of like a month or two. And finally one day, I told me and my dad said, like, we might have to like call this a business, don't we? And so, we're machinists. We don't know anything about business, right? So we went and found a lawyer, and we had to come up with a name. I remember my mom was sitting in there, and my dad said, well, the lawyer goes, what are you going to call it? Well, my mom, we're going to be woman owned. So that's where the MRS comes from. So that's because we had government contracts back then. So we are still woman owned today. My wife is actually 51% of it. So she's my boss here, and she's the boss at home.
Well, wonderful. Was that your plan?
Not at first. My plan, I went to school at the tech college, and I ended up helping my dad in the weekends and, in the evenings and stuff. And that's about the time I did meet my wife. And so I started moving. I actually left here, and because you got to get away from your hometown because there's nothing here for you, right? So I've actually moved about 2 hours north, and then I still kept coming home on the weekends to help my dad, and that kind of got old. So I decided the day I got married, my dad said, well, now that you're married, you're going to come work for me full time. And I'm like, no, I'm going to stay here. I'm happy because I liked hunting and fishing at the time. And well, 3 months later, I was back. So, and it's been a journey ever since.
I bet. Well, what's the biggest way that you guys impact the community?
I used to develop a passion probably back in the late 90s. Because this trade is, manufacturing is the backbone of America, and I don't care. It's always pretty stable, and more people are leaving than coming in. So kind of just drew attention to getting in with young kids, or trying to get people off the street that, I've been in some bad situations, and teaching them a trade. And one of my things I try to finding kids and people is everybody's got a gift and talent, Stacie. you just have to help them develop and find it. And once they find their gifts and their true talents, man, they just become so fruitful that I just get so excited over that. So we started trying to do our education class here, and we kind of failed at it. Well, then I met a guy at a high school that was going to be a tech ed teacher, and told me about this idea about starting a machine shop up on the high school. And I kind of drew my attention towards that. And so I like my part-time job is going to schools and working with young kids and teaching them about careers in manufacturing. Not that we get them all, but if we get one or two, that's one or two we didn't have before.
Yeah.
And it's because, and like me, I was not a very pleasant kid in school. And I was told I was going to be a failure, and it was, that was probably the best. And at the time, I thought it was really mean and rude of them. But now I look back at it today, it was actually a good thing, because it actually led me and motivated me to prove him, just prove and just, hey, I'm on the wrong track, or I got to straighten my life around, or I will be what he said. So, and I want to prevent kids from that happening to them again, because I can't sit in the classroom and just have a teacher lecture to me. I was bored to death. I was driving myself nuts. And when you naturally, and then you start feeling like you're a loser, and you're not self-motivated, and you're not confident in yourself, and naturally you just find trouble. And so
you are helping kids get out of that situation every day, or even before they get into it, which is really neat. And like you said, not everybody can sit and listen to somebody. They need to be hands-on. They need to learn in different ways. So that is incredible what you're doing for the community, and really for the world, because if we don't have these things, who is going to make them? Who, the things that fly around up,
yeah, because that's pretty critical. And so everybody needs a mentor. That's why I say get a mentor, find someone positive. And I can get into that here in a little bit, but that's what helped me out too through my journey.
Absolutely. So in your journey, what is one of the challenges that you have faced that other business owners could learn from?
Well, I guess the biggest one was when my dad passed away in 2013. And then a follow-up a year later, my mom passed away. So,
I'm sorry.
actually I was very fortunate now looking back at it today, because we had time to plan. It wasn't a sudden overnight instant, so we had a little time to plan. But you can plan for someone's death, but when it happens, it was just like a train ran me over. I was a total wreck. And for 6 months, my dad was my best friend. We fought, we didn't get along, but at the end of the day, we always said we were sorry. And losing your best friend or half yourself. Of course, I had a supportive wife, don't get me wrong, but it was hard, because this was our life, and we did a lot of things together. But what I found out there is, first of all, you find out who your real true friends are, and who really your true people are. But I had a great team of people here that were smarter than me, and they just stepped up and took over the place. And it was just like, wow. It opened my eyes. And then I started realizing that the things I wasn't smart at, and the people I didn't have here to do that, I hired people smarter than me, and it took off. So people think that you got to do it all yourself and it's on you. No, find somebody smarter, and it makes much less easier. Yeah, it costs you a little money, but
Sure.
Return on investment has been phenomenal. Like finance, I didn't know how to deal with a bank. I didn't, I knew, I learned it over the years, but I wasn't an expert at it. And you got to sit back and do planning. You got to do 1-year plan, 3-year plan, and a 5-year plan. I wasn't good at that, so I hired somebody, and I hired him part-time. Wonderful, one of the best decisions I ever made. So
that's really, really good advice for our business owners that are watching. Thank you for that. What does the future look like for you, and do you have an exit plan?
Well, the future for manufacturing is very bright, and especially machining and fabrication, because the needs are going up, and the people coming into it are still going down. And we're about that crossroad, so we have to somehow reverse that. So there's going to be great growth opportunities for everybody. It's just a matter of how much skilled help and then get people back into manufacturing. It just seems like people are leaving it heavier than they're coming into it. But we're starting to do things, and I see things change. One thing I've always, people over the years, people were just like working against each other. We're jealous if someone hired somebody or someone got a job. I get excited when people are successful. I'm happy for them. That drives energy into me.
Totally.
so we're all starting to work together at it and trying to figure this problem out together. And, everybody's into schools now, and tech schools, and trying different things and sharing those ideas. And that's one thing, it's one thing I like to do is, the failures I made in my business, I want to share with other people so they don't make the same mistakes the hard way like I had to over the years. So,
Really
so,
cool. So what about the exit plan? Do you think, how long do you want to be in it?
well, I know that question always comes up once you hit I'm over 50. Once you hit 50, you start to think a little more conservative. It's like on fire and just no fear. I have family members here that would be happy to take over. I have employees that would be happy to take over. Something where we're just kick around the e-stop a little bit. I don't have to worry about that for at least another 10 to 15 years.
Perfect.
But everybody has a plan. You got to have a disaster plan. You got to have what happens if something would happen to me. You never know. So we got to have a strategic plan, but we don't have the exit plan nailed down yet. But that'll come. We're in no hurry. We'll get there.
Yep, that sounds great. And the last question, all subjects open. What inspires you most?
I think some of the things that I already said, but I guess another thing I do with the community is officiate sports. That's another reason how I get employees. You see them on the field, you see them on the court, and then when they come in your office or you see them in school, you made that connection. And that's always nice you kind of break that door. You got that doors open already because you've seen them and you know what kind of student they are. I guess I like seeing people successful, and my goal every day, if I go to these schools and if they don't go into manufacturing, that's great. But if I steer them in the right direction, where they went to a 4-year college and spend $100,000 or $50,000 a week, that's gone. Where they could have just kind of went into a career where they could have saved a lot of money. That's kind of my goal every day. So just inspiring people. That's trying to, don't, I always tell people when they tie their shoes every morning or when they put their shoes on, because everybody's got to put shoes on, think of one positive thing. Don't think of a negative thing. If you're going to think positively right off the bat, you're going to have a positive day. If you think a negative, you're going to have a negative day. It's that simple. I mean, another thing I like to tell kids when I go to school or people, when you go to the gas station, this is my little pet peeve. You go to the gas station, you put gas in your car, you're in the gas station, just say, hi, have a good day, or hi, how's it going? Because you just don't know. You never know what that person you're looking to is going through it. Just a hi, have a good day could just change that person's life around. You would never know. So I always challenge people, just try it. Then what in return, you do good things to other people, it always seems to reverse and people do good things to you. So that's one thing I like to do.
That's brilliant. The law of attraction, inspiring others. And yeah, it definitely comes back. It feels as good, like even better for you when you're helping somebody else, right?
That's correct.
Smile. So thank you so much. What a wonderful conversation we've had today. Yep. It's been great talking with you. Now, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, whether it is for employment, getting trained, or their sons or daughters, how would they get a hold of you?
You can get me through LinkedIn, Matt Gusse, G-U-S-E, or MRS Machining. It's MRS Machining, or just Google Matt Gusse. And I'm on a lot of podcasts, so you can just Google Matt Gusse podcast, and you come up and listen to them, a whole bunch of them, learn more about them.
Thank you for the inspiration.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Have a good day.